up, bros? Welcome to my bodybuilding channel. I'm extremely thrilled to have you guys here today, and this is how to build your dream physique part 2. Now in part 1, we went over the foundation. What do you want your dream physique to be? What do you want it to portray about yourself? And ultimately, how can we get there? Today, we're going to show you the programming aspect of how to get there, what you're going to need to know, and what movements and stuff like that you're going to have to do in order to reach X goal, right? Or get X result in your physique. Now this program, this 5-day split, upper lower, plus an arm day, will be based off of Goku's Super Saiyan 1 physique. So I'm going to be kind of making a template around this, right? It's just a general template, right? And this is for intermediate lifters. So you can actually just go in the description right now. You can actually click on it and you can follow along with me. So let's get started. When building a program, you need to understand what movements will give X results or work X muscle. For example, let's use bench press, right? Bench press will bias your chest, triceps, and a little bit of your shoulders. Now, I don't believe in the dogma of saying you have to do bench press or you have to do squat, bench, and deadlift. Now, if you want a bigger chest, I recommend that you do bench press. But what's most important, and what I actually got from natural hypertrophy, is breaking down the body into movement patterns. Let me give you my example, and the first movement pattern, horizontal press. The bench press is a horizontal press. Dumbbell bench press is a horizontal press. Dips, horizontal press. Push-ups, horizontal press. These are all different variations of the same movement pattern. So you can see why it works the same muscles. It's the exact same movement pattern. So that's the first one, horizontal presses. Second one is vertical presses. This can be your shoulder presses, overhead presses, Smith machine overhead press, high incline barbell or dumbbell press, right? So this is going to mainly work your shoulders and triceps with a little bit of chest involved. Then we have vertical pull. This will mainly give you lat width, aka back width. Now it's just a general rule. It doesn't always mean it's going to. It's just a general rule. Right? This can be your pull-ups, weighted pull-ups, lat pull-downs, right? Whatever it is. Then we have horizontal pulls. This can be things like barbell rows, cable rows, dumbbell rows, right? You can see it's a horizontal row. And you can see how we've changed the horizontal press into a horizontal row. Or start vertical press into vertical pull. Now there's 2 more movement patterns, right? There's 6 in total, and there's 2 more. That is going to be knee flexion, aka a squatting motion, right? Like a squat, Bulgarian split squat, Smith machine squat, hack squat, right? Leg press. Leg extension is not a knee flexion, it's a extension, right? Different functions. Then we have your hip hinge. Your hip hinge is basically a deadlift, right? This could be regular deadlift, Romanian deadlift, stiff leg deadlift, good morning, doesn't matter, right? It can literally be anything. Now, those are the 6 main movement patterns, right? Horizontal press, vertical press. Horizontal pull, vertical pull. Hip hinge, knee flexion. So those are your big 6 movements that you will need to keep in mind when you make a program. Now, like I said, those are just the 6 big movement patterns that we are going to keep track of in your program. Of course, I didn't mention the bicep curls, the calf raises, the ladder raises, and that's because those are not the biggest movement patterns where they're getting multiple joint angles in there, right? A big compound lift. Those are more isolation movements, right? Where they're isolating individual muscles. We're going to add those into our program, just wait. So, what are some of the techniques that I will use in this program? The first technique is supersets. Supersets are usually 2 exercises back to back with very little or no rest at all. Now there's two types of supersets that I personally use. The first set is an antagonist superset. So these are using antagonist muscles, biceps and triceps, chest and back, right? So for example, I'd do a bicep curl and then I would do tricep pushdowns, or I could do weighted dips and weighted chin-ups. Same thing, that's basically chest and back, right? I could do bench press and weighted pull-ups, right? They're opposing muscle groups. So you're going to rest the opposite muscle group when using the antagonist, right? So your biceps will be resting when you're hitting triceps, and your triceps will be resting when you're hitting biceps. The second one I use is a non-competing superset, or what I call a floater exercise. I'll get into floaters in a little bit second, but let's just say non-competing superset. This will be, for example, like a squat and forearm curl, right? What do your forearms have to do in your squat? You literally just hold the bar. It's not gonna do anything, right? What do your calves do in your chin-ups? They do nothing, right? What do your abs do when you're doing bicep curls, right? They basically do nothing. These are muscles that will not interfere with the current movement that you're doing or the main movement that you're trying to do. My favorite non-competing superset is squats with forearm curls, because everyone skips forearms. Why not do them when you're resting between your squats? You're resting your legs and you're getting in more volume into a more forgotten muscle group. This is why I think non-competing supersets are extremely important. The biggest advantages with supersets is your time, the time efficiency. We only have so much time on this earth, right? We want to spend it on certain things. One of those things is lifting, but we don't want it to take up our whole life. Supersets will make your workout faster, more intense, and more efficient. Let's say I'm doing weighted chin-ups and bench press, for example. Instead of me doing bench press, bench press, bench press, pull up, pull up, pull up, bench press, pull up, bench press, pull up, bench press, pull up. Now instead of me resting 3 minutes for 8 sets, now I only rested, let's say, 3 minutes for 4 sets, right? In between each superset, which condenses the amount of stuff I'm able to put into my workout. The second intensity technique that I use in my programming are giant sets. Giant sets are just like supersets, but they're actually 3+ exercises put into a singular set, basically. Now let me give you an example of a giant set. Biceps, triceps, and calves. What do bicep curls and tricep extensions have to do with calves? Absolutely nothing. A little bit more of an advanced one that I personally use is squats, upright rows, forearm curls. Your upper back is only stabilization for your squats. It's not helping you push more weight. It's not your legs, right? And your forearm curls, sure, you're holding the bar or the dumbbell when you're doing your upright rows. But if you can't hold on to the bar long enough and then do forearm curls after, there's an even bigger problem that you'll need to fix in your training. The third intensity technique that I use in my programming is floater exercises. Now, floater exercises, I actually already mentioned some in my non-competing superset or in my giant set. An example I'll give you is the squats and forearm curls. Forearm curls have nothing to do with your squats, right? It's literally just a floater exercise where it's not competing with the dominant lift and it's just extra volume. This is usually for smaller exercises, smaller muscle groups that you want to isolate. Now, the example I gave before with upright rows is an example of a floater exercise still, right? You're doing squats, then a floater with upright rows, then another floater with forearm curls. You can see that adding all sorts of floater exercises, supersets, or giant sets can help you maximize your potential, increase efficiency, and just have better training.
So the first thing we have to focus on is nutrition. Eating in a caloric surplus, eating healthy, whole foods. This is like your meats, fruits, vegetables, and of course, this also does include some of your guilty pleasure foods, because at the end of the day, there still needs to be a balance of having fun with the discipline as well. So I recommend having your guilty pleasure foods once a week. That's just a general rule. Obviously, you want it to be healthy for yourself too. You shouldn't be getting too over obsessed about it, and you should have some sort of healthy balance. Now, we're gonna talk about the progression model that we'll be using. This is going to be called a dynamic double progression. So it starts off with a manageable weight. Let's choose 5 to 8 reps as a rep range. So we'll choose a weight that we can do 5 to 6 reps with. Let's do 2 sets of that. Now, when we have the stimulus, we rest, we eat, we get stronger next time, or we should be getting at least a little bit stronger next time. So this will give you an increase in reps as time goes by, if you're doing things properly. Now, let's say you go from 5 reps to 7 reps. That is an increase, and you did build a little bit of muscle. Now, another form of progression into this is keeping good form while adding reps. If your form is getting better, but you do the same amount of reps, let's say you do 6 reps and 5 reps, but then next week you come by, you do 6 reps and 5 reps, but it's better technique, that's also a form of progression as well. 3, then you can add weight once you hit the top of the rep range. So for example, if it's 2 sets with a 5 to 8 rep range, we'd go 8 reps and 7 reps. That's passable to go on to the next weight because you've hit the top of your rep scheme. And if it was 3 sets, it would look something like 8-7-7 or 8-7-6, something like that. That'll be passable for progression in weight because you still hit the top of your rep scheme. I'm only going to be going through upper day number 1, lower day number 1, and arm day, because I'll let the other 2 days kind of speak for themselves because they're sort of just another template off of the first day. And I will need to give context to the second day when it does come time. Now, these are all going to be done in supersets, whether it's 1A, 1B, or up to 1A, B, and C, right, with a giant set. Now, our first exercise and first superset is a pair of vertical press and a vertical pull. We're putting them together as it's really good for your shoulder health. So you choose the variation that is chosen there. Then for our second superset, you're going to choose any press. This could be a vertical press, horizontal press. It really doesn't matter. It's up to what you want. We pair this one with a horizontal pull. For this reason is because of the back thickness after the lat width from the vertical pull. So it's kind of like working in synchronicity with each other. Now we have our first giant set of the program, which is a fly for your pecs, an upright pull or a lateral raise variation, and a calf isolation movement. So your pecs are going to be isolated along with your shoulders. But that normally wouldn't be a great superset. But having the calves involved makes it so then your shoulders are rested for when you're going into your chest movement too. So having calves there gives you some extra time to rest, and it gives you some extra volume for your calves on your upper body day. And for the last superset, we have a tricep extension with a bicep curl, and then a rear delt isolation movement, right? You can just follow the rep ranges and the amount of sets. And if there is a usually lower rep range, like let's say around 6 reps or so, or below 10, usually you want to be resting around 3 minutes. And if there are supersets with more than 2 exercises or a giant set with 3 exercises, then you should only rest about 1 to 2 minutes. Now, lower day number 1. We start off with a heavy knee flexion, aka squatting motion, right? Pair this with a forearm curl, as these do nothing, right? These do nothing for your squats, and all it's going to do is going to give you more forearm volume in your program. Second superset. This is a hip hinge. This can be Romanian deadlift, deficit deadlift, good morning, it doesn't really matter, or even a regular deadlift, right? Then we choose the neck curl variation. your neck does not work in deadlifts. So why not add some extra volume in an area that makes you look a lot better, and it completely changes the way your physique looks. So for example, if you don't have much equipment, you can just go on a bench, put a plate on your forehead or at the back of your head, and start curling. Third superset is a hamstring isolation with a one leg knee flexion. Now, if you're doing like dumbbell lunges or Bulgarian split squats, I don't recommend you superset these because those are really taxing. So what you can do is you can just do those by itself, and then you can add the hamstring isolation onto 4A and B if you choose the Bulgarian split squat or the lunge. But if you choose the other ones, then you can do them as a superset. Finally, the last superset is an ab isolation with a calf isolation. Pretty simple to see here. You're just getting some extra ab and calf work. Now, when it comes to upper day number 2 and 3, you want to go through the same thing, but choose different exercises. You want to have 2 exercises that you switch between for whichever movement that we choose, making it so that we can have carryover and synchronicity between the 2 exercises. Make sure it's a different lift. We don't want overuse injuries. So day number 5, right? Arm day. So with our first superset, we just choose a bicep and tricep exercise each, right? These ones are going to be a little bit heavier. And my philosophy going into an arm day is that you don't want to be doing super heavy compound movements. This is just an extra day to get some extra volume into your arms. Ultimately, we want these to catch up a little bit, so we're going to have a dedicated day for it. And if we do our chin-ups and our bench presses, then it might ruin some of the volume and recovery aspect of the program too. So the second superset is the tricep extension with a heavy forearm curl. Forearm curls are really good for your elbows. They can help with your elbow health. And tricep extensions, ultimately, they give you more long head than they do lateral head, which is a really big thing because when you flex your arm, this is your long head. So having a lot of overhead movements and just extensions in your program is really good. Now we'll go into our first giant set, a bicep curl, another upright pull or lateral raise variation with a calf raise, right? It's pretty simple. Once again, doing a bicep curl, doing some lateral raises, and you're doing some calves. These muscles do not touch each other. So you're just resting other muscles while you're doing these. And finally, we have our last giant set. This is a forearm curl with a rear delta isolation and also a neck curling variation. So you can just follow the template here, choose whichever exercises that are in the boxes, which ones that you like the most, follow the rep ranges, and follow the progression model. Ultimately, being consistent in choosing the exercises and sticking to them is really important. If you just keep bouncing from exercise to exercise to exercise, you'll get stronger, you'll look like you're getting stronger because you're getting the muscular and neurological adaptation of getting used to the new movement. But then when that stops, after the learning curve stops, that's when you're actually gaining strength. So that's why I say give yourself 6 weeks at a time with the movement, unless it gives you discomfort or it hurts you or there's an injury of some sort, right? If it hurts you or something, just swap it out. It's that simple. Have a go on, bros. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe.